Once upon a time, in a room full of wonders, where every step leads to magic, and the journey of a true story begins here, with amazing guests and true miracles. Please like and subscribe for more amazing videos.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very honored. Oh, everything started when I was just a little one. I was just close to 3 years old when I had my first near-death experience. And I don't know, you imagine have met many people that have had these kind of experiences, but in my case, I'm about to get out my second book talking about these experiences, because so far, and I hope I don't have more, but I have had 3 near-death experiences. The first one, like I mentioned, happened when I was close to 2 years old, and I grew up in Bogota, Colombia, and with my parents, and they would leave us at the care of a maid, and she really didn't pay much attention to us when my parents were not around. And one day when they left, my oldest sister, she was close to 3, we were just 2 little ones, and I decided, let's go play in the patio. And we found a couple of balls, and there was a big tank in the patio, and nobody was watching, so we decided, let's just play catch across the tank. We did not supposed to be playing there, but hey, when you're a child, what is the danger? Just the fun. And we started to pass the ball to each other, and in one of those moments, my sister threw a ball to me, and it fell on the water, and it was floating. And I leaned forward trying to catch it, and I lost my balance and fell in the tank. And let me tell you, the first feeling when I fell in this tank was that this water was frigid cold. And it just this water itself was the feeling like my breath just went away. And now it came the realization why I cannot breathe. And I went into this state of terror, trying to just breathe. I had never been underwater. I didn't know if you fall in the water, you drown. So I now went into the state of terror. And that was when something incredible happened. And it was when I went from that horror to a state of complete and absolute peace. It was peace, serenity, calmness, silence. And the silence was so profound that I call it the silence behind the silence. And some people ask me, how can I remember this experience if I was so young? And I always say, because there was a lot of contrast. And what I mean with this, the first contrast was, imagine going from that terror to that peace. How can I forget that? The other contrast, this tank was very dark, and it was early in the morning, and when I fell in the water, the last thing I saw with my eyes open was the darkness of this space. And when I entered into that silence, that calmness, that peace, the first thing I saw was light. And there was a light that came from below, and it was able to illuminate the whole surrounding. And then the first thought, of course, is like, oh, now there is light. And now it was going from noise. The last thing I heard when I was drowning was my heart pounding in my chest, in my head, like a drum, like boom, boom, boom. And it came the silence. Oh, And I craved this silence for the rest of my life, because it was this incredible, amazing, I would just say delicious silence. And even after the experience, I would hide in closets, I would go into chapels, I would go under the bed. I wanted that silence back. So that's another very strong contrast. And once I am in that atmosphere of complete, incredible well-being, I started to see bubbles. And the bubbles were surrounded by light. And it was by chasing these bubbles that I turned around and I saw a body in the water. And then I realized, oh, that's my body. And it was like I wasn't scared, or it was, of course, it was just like surprised but not afraid. It was like, it was knowing, it was so familiar. It was like, oh, that's my body. The only thing that I have to say that kind of shocked me about the body is that the eyes were open. And it was that, you know how they say that the eyes are the like the mirrors of the soul. And when I saw the eyes were empty. It was like empty. And it was just the feeling of like the body was just a shell. And then at that moment, I just kind of decided and made the decision that I did not want to go back in that body. And this is the other thing. I was born as a very sick child. And I experienced from the moment I was born until now that I was close to 3 years old, sickness. I didn't know anything else other than being sick. And now I am in this complete well-being. I'm like, I feel incredibly well. Why do I want to go back to that body? So that was the other strong contrast. So how can I forget all this? That was just incredible. And then I turned around and I left the body behind. And then the moment I turned around, I started to see flowers. And the flowers were blooming from nowhere. And then I was picked. I was like cattle, like picked by the flowers. And I said, I give the analogy that is like going back to the womb, where you don't have to do anything. You just carry, you just being done. And I'm like, oh, and I am in this state of absolute joy. And in that moment, something happened. I was being kind of carried like in a forward, like I could just see light. But at that moment, in just a blink, I appeared in the maid's room. The lady that's supposed to be taking care of us was listening to soap operas in the radio. And then I'm looking at her from above. And I'm like, oh, that's Maria. And Maria's completely unaware of what is happening. And since nothing happened with Maria, like in another blink, I appear in my mom's path, in her way. She was walking. She left the house early. She was on her way to work. She was close to her bus stop, which was actually about 10 blocks from the house. And then now I am floating above her, and I said, the moment, this is a thing, the part that one validate the story, and two, I think it blows everybody's socks off, because the moment I said, whoa, that's mom, she stopped. She did not give another step. She stopped, and she knew that something was happening at home with one of her daughters. And you know, this is the other thing I like to share. My mom had got a new job. She could have decided this was her new job. I mean, in your mind and in your logic, you're going to be like, I cannot miss my first day of work. That will be the thing that pulls you harder. No. My mom, I have to say two things. She was a very intuitive person. And second, that she listened to that intuition. And she listened to her heart. And she turned around and started to run back home. And I'm looking at her from above, and I'm like, oh, I wonder why she's running. And I kind of follow her for a minute until I got distracted, because at the end of the street there was a dog, and I love animals. So the moment I feel the desire to be with the dog, I am with the dog. And I just thought, oh, this is so much fun. And the moment after that I saw a park and I felt the desire to be in the park, I was in the park. So now I'm like, wow, this is so much fun. And I started to play this game of going places. So it was like time and space, the way we know it, completely changed. And when I'm playing this game, it was like in another blink that I now appear in a realm that was made of pure, bright, intense, shiny light. And when I enter into this light, I felt the sense of home. Now I am home. I recognize the sense of being home. And it was all embracing, cozy, warm. I just imagine home, and I felt the sense that I was not alone. And it was when, for the first time, although I had seen my body in the water, I didn't have the realization of who I was. I didn't think about it. I just was experiencing things. But once I was here is when I realized, wow, I am not that. I am not that person. I am not that body. And it's when I said, I am a being of light. I realized myself as light. And I could just say, these are words I didn't know before, but what we could use to mingle with the word light is presence. I was just the light of presence. And then I started to feel that I was dissolving, like I was being part of the whole. But I was still having a sense of self. But even that sense of self started to dissolve. And it's when I experienced this deep state of interconnection. I used two words. I said that I experienced nothingness, but that scares people. But with nothing, I mean, imagine, I give this analogy. Imagine there was a stadium, and in the middle of the stadium, there was a box, a little tiny box in the middle of this huge stadium. And suddenly, the little box opened. And is the realization nothingness, because it's nothing I thought I was. I thought I was what is in that box. I thought I was the box. And now the box opened and you realize, I'm not what I think I was. So is that the sense of is nothing that I had a narrative for, idea for, color for, movement, and then from that state of nothingness it comes a state of wholeness, because at the same time that you feel there's nothing you thought you were, you are connected with everything. So I would just say nothingness and wholeness at the same time. And the only words this is the most difficult part of the experience to describe. So I think the words I can use for this is just complete presence. Presence is that interconnection with everything. Again, it comes the word wholeness, I guess consciousness. And I was in that state of expansive state of being. And I am just in bliss. If there's any emotion I could mention or come close to use, is bliss. And then my mom, when I am in this experience, my mom finally arrived home. And this is the other thing, she knew exactly where to go. And she directed herself to the back of the house. And there was my sister. And my sister was trying to get me out of the tank, but she was too little too. She could not reach me. And people say, why she didn't call the maid? Because we did not supposed to be playing in the patio in that tank. So you don't want to be in trouble. But when my mom gets in the patio and my sister sees her, she's like, Mom, Ingrid is there and I cannot get her. And then my mom gets in the tank, get me out. And she said like I was like a raggedy doll. No pulse, no breathing, blue lips, and completely pale. But let me tell you, I did not feel anything she was doing. I was completely detached. I'd forgotten this body. I was having my bliss. And my mom is doing anything she knew to revive me. She was a teacher. She worked with children. And she knew she had been taught some form of CPR, and she was doing this to me. Anything she knew to revive me. And then the only thing I felt is that suddenly it was the sense like if I had jumped from the tallest building in the world. And I said that because I felt the sense of vacuum. Like when you jump from somewhere that is so high and you just get like this vacuum feeling, that's how I felt. And I felt the sense like I was being pulled, that there was nothing I could do, and I resisted. I just was like, no! And I am being like sucked back. And I knew I was back the moment that I felt the sense of coldness, the sense of this body. Like I said, I never felt well, and that sense of sickness was back, and the expansive state of being was gone, and now back to the little box. And I was very, very angry. And I also was angry because, again, giving another analogy, imagine that you're a child and you're in an amusement park and you're having all the fun in the world, and suddenly you have to go home. You're like, I don't want to go, and you get angry and mad. That's how I felt. And the problem was that anger and that sense of rejecting to be here lasted for many years. And it brought me to be even more sicker and very detached from my parents, from my persona. And in the long time, it brought me to suffer from very deep depression because I did not want to be here. So I had to go through many experiences, including, like I mentioned, 2 more near-death experiences to finally understand what all this was about, and to finally come to the realization in my last near-death experience that it was not about dying, but really about living. But I just could not know that back then. And when I came back from that experience, I look at myself and I would just be angry. I said, this is not me. This is not my name. I should not be here. And nobody understood, because of course back then nobody knew about near-death experiences. And I will look at my parents and think, these are not my parents. I mean, biologically they were, but for me, the sense I had experienced oneness. So for me, they were like my equal. And I just thought, why do I have to listen to these people? I could not relate with other children. When I would look at them, I would think, what is happening to these people? They don't know anything. Why? Because I came with an awareness, a clear state of awareness I didn't have before. I knew I was not this body. I knew I was more than a body. And that state of awareness just grew through time. The other thing, I came with abilities I didn't have before. I was just, like I said to you, about to be 3 years old. And after this experience, I could read, I could write, I could develop mathematical problems, I could put together complex puzzles. I just have this expansive mind. For me, it was, And it kept, again, like evolving more. And when I went to school, I became a problem because I just was this very intelligent child. But what happened to me was the sense that I wasn't learning anything. I was just remembering. And it was like, I'm just remembering. And the way my parents were able to cope with this and work with this, for me, this help came in a very, let's call it magical, remarkable way, because I started to, after my near-death experience, I started to have what we know today like out-of-body experiences. And during these out-of-body experiences, I started to connect with what I describe as beings of light. And at the beginning, just beings of light because they appear like shiny light. And I started to see them shining in all colors, all different sizes, and from here to the infinite. And one day, one of these beings shining in gold shaped itself into human form, and it touched me in the head, in the forehead, and I said, you are a being of light, because I also remember being light. And then after that, I started to have a sense of healing, a sense of wanting to be here, a sense that I wasn't alone. And I wanted to sleep all the time though, so I could not be the child that was sleeping all the time. And then something very beautiful happened after that. One day I am taking a shower. Now I'm close to 4 years old. And then one of these beings shining in blue appeared in the bathroom. And it's when I started to see them physically here in this physical realm. And now is when finally I felt the sense of, oh, now I am not here alone. And it's when I was able to start coping with being here on earth. And I started to feel the sense of playing with my sisters, because I went through a time where I would draw. I didn't want to even be touched. It was a very, very hard time for me and my parents. But with this now help of the light, what some people might call them angels, some people call them all different names. That's the book I just wrote, because when I wrote my first book, I mentioned briefly the second one, but at the time I really was learning about what had happened really to me and throughout my journey. And some people say, no, you could not say that you had two near-death experiences, that's crazy. So I just felt like I better probably just write about it very kind of to the surface. But through time, I met many more people and realized, yeah, this happens, to the point that just 2 years ago, I had a third one. And what happened is that what I have come to learn from experience, from other experiencers, and now from the beings of light, is that when these experiences happen, it's like this is open to you. It's like you have one foot in this realm and the other one in the other realm, and this connection never breaks over. So for me, it's like, it's very easy to access, and that's why I kept having out-of-body experiences. It's like the door never closed, until one day the beings of light said to me, Ingrid, of course the door never closed, because there are no doors. What we call the kingdom of heaven, the light of consciousness, presence, God are here for us always. So that's how it's been for me. But the second experience happened when I was 24 years old, and it was during a motorcycle accident. And this experience was very different from the first one. In this one, it's helped me a lot to help people that when they have lose their loved ones in traumatic accidents like that, very sudden. And they asked me if their loved ones suffer when they died in that way. and in my experience and experience of many others that have had this kind of near-death experience in a traumatic accident like that, even before the motorcycle hit the ground, I was already outside of the body. And I was standing in the middle of the road, but what is more incredible of all this, I was already surrounded by light, but the most amazing thing, no pain at all. No fear, no any emotion, any negative emotion whatsoever. I was there and I was home again. And my sense was like, oh, I'm ready, I am home. And it was just incredible. And then now I was picked from the road, from the accident, and that's when the fear came back, because it's when I realized that I could feel, I could hear all the scene, all the things happening, but I could not see. So I had a very traumatic, I was not wearing a helmet, so I had I hit my head really badly, so I had a really bad concussion, and I lost my sight for a while. For a little, it wasn't that long, it was a couple of days that it took for the whole vision to come back, but I was rushed to the hospital. And being at the hospital, I was in this motorcycle with a friend. He was sitting at the back. We lost the balance, we fell. And then nothing really much happened to him. And when the doctor was telling us all that happened, I said that I lost my vision the moment I hit the ground, because it was a very traumatic head injury. And I said, I don't think so, because I'm standing in the middle of the road and I'm completely surrounded by light. I can see clearly the light. And then my friend said, Ingrid, you could not have seen any light because the road was pitch black. One, it was at night. And two, you never stood up. You were never standing in the middle of the road. So it's when I realized, different from the first one, that I had all the consciousness of seeing my body and everything. No, this time I was directly at home. I'm like, oh, no pain, no fear, no body, no nothing. And I was just ready to go. But now it was that sense of gratitude for my sight coming back, and the sense of having the absolute clarity that pain belongs to the body. Pain belongs to the nervous system. And one experience I had that I clearly remember later, not at the moment, but later, was that I had the experience of the coupling, the connection between the soul and the nervous system, and how the body and the pain and the things of the body are the vehicle for the soul to have this human experience, and for the body to talk to the soul, and how the pain is used for that communication. And it was just incredible how I learned so much about the body and this connection through that accident. And my last near-death experience that happened 3 years ago is now going to be, I had a surgery, and incredibly I was postponing that surgery, but I guess there's certain things that meant to happen, and I just had the feeling that something was not going to go right, and I was postponing this surgery. And then before the surgery happened, one night I was feeling very strange, like this dreadful feeling of worry, like a worry. And then I went to bed, and when I went to bed, the worry was such that I barely could sleep, woke up in the middle of the night, and even with tachycardia. And I did my practices of being present with what is, and Then at that moment, I heard the words that says, "Do you trust me?" And when I heard the words, "Do you trust me?" I said, "Yes, I do." And when I said these words, everything was gone. The worry, the tachycardia, everything was gone. And then I heard the words, "You are in sync with God." And then next day I got up and I was in this state of complete and absolute presence for days. And then remembering and thinking about these words, "Do you trust me?" It's like everything was going to unfold in a way, like life itself, our life, it unfolds in a way that is for us, for our growth, for our evolution, for our understanding. And that's exactly what happened. 5 days later, I was in a very bad car accident. And although the car accident was not related directly with the surgery, in that surgery I didn't want to have, I had to have it because of the accident, because the seat belt just tied my abdomen really hard. And because of the accident, now I needed that surgery that I was avoiding. So I was like, oh, the universe is just orchestrating all this. But in that meantime, I was guided to meet the right doctor that was going to listen, because there's some doctors that, they don't listen to what you have to say, but this lady did. And I said, I know something is going to happen during this surgery. I just knew it. I said, you have to monitor my blood pressure. You do have to monitor my blood pressure. And then she called the anesthesiologist. They listened to what I had to say, and they were actually doing it. And during the procedure, my blood pressure dropped, and I went into hypothermia. And when that happened, I went back to the light immediately. And now it's like, once you know home, you don't need to go anywhere else. You're just there. And I entered the light, and I'm like, oh, I am home. I forgot about everything else. At that moment, it was the sense of thinking about, it just came with such clarity that about my husband, my son, I adore my family, everybody, but it was that knowing that if I didn't come back, it was okay. That everything was okay, that everything was perfect, that everything would align the way they had to be, that I just had to trust. That's why, do you trust me? And then this was the first time from the 3 experiences that I was given a choice. The other 2 times, I was not asked anything. I was just sent back. This time, I was asked, do you want to stay or you want to go back? And when I heard the words, do you want to stay? I was like, of course I want to stay. I've been wanting to come home all my life. It was 50 years. I was like, I want to stay home. But then something happened when I heard, oh, you want to go back. Like this just lingered there. And I said, wait a minute, is this a test? Because it's when I had the absolute clarity, if God is ever present, if God is always with me, and absolutely everything is a manifestation of universal consciousness. So what is here and what is there? I said, oh, I get it. There is no here and there is no there. So there's no difference. So because there's no difference, it did not matter. Then at that moment, the only thing that I thought to say was, keep me where I can serve God the most. Keep me where I can serve you the most. And at that moment, I was back. And only at that moment is when all the faces of my son, my husband, the family, the people, the experiences I am having came back, not as an attachment, as a way of knowing there's much more I have to do. And then I was back, and it's when I had the absolute clarity. Home is not a place. Home is a state of being. As long as I am present, as long as I know that my connection with God is ever present, as long as I know that everything is a manifestation of consciousness, I am already home. And that was when I realized it's not about dying. It's about living. It's about living to the fullest. It's about, from the very, very near-death experience that I saw the light. When I said the tank was dark and I saw light, I thought before that light was something outside of me. And through time I realized, no, that light was not outside of you. That light was your own light. We are the light. The light of what? The light of presence, the light of God, the light of love, the light of silence, the light of peace, the light of compassion, the light of joy, of greatness. So shine your light. When people ask me what is purpose and what is my mission and what is my purpose, I said to people, your purpose is to remember that you are that light, an extension of God and the light of love and presence. And your mission is to shine that light wherever you are in whatever you're doing. That's when we start remembering who we are, we just open that door. Like again, we always be in this light. We just forgot, and I said we cover ourselves with layers and layers, and we peel those layers. Then we recognize each other. We say, oh, and we start seeing everyone as the light that they are. Yes, and I said to others, you don't need to have a near-death experience. No, now that we have them, we can share how it is. Just remember that light that we have been forced to see through near-death and stuff is in you. It's in you. Just be more present. Just be more open. Just be more self-compassion. Bring the love, and then that love is just what you radiate from your heart. Yes, I do sessions where healing happens by itself. I don't do anything. I think what happened is that I get out of the way and just become that vehicle for the light that we are to just shine through. And the things that need to come happen. I think that the same thing happens to you, like it just happened, and the tools that need to be shared are shared, and the knowledge that need to come. And even before I connect with the person, 1 day, 2 days before, I start already receiving, because the connection happens and the person is open. So I start receiving all that, what is needed for that connection and that conversation to be, we can call it healing for everyone. Because I think for me too, every time it happens, and we vibrate higher because we feel that we're able to help others remember who they are. Thank you so much, and I enjoy very much meeting you. You are a beautiful being of light. You too. Thank you. Bye.